Today's stupidity, well, the stupidity of the day, the stupidity of the morning, since it's not even 9 a.m. yet, and I've already smashed the ceiling in the entrance of the house. Just a 2x2 meter space with a front door, closet, and a familiar partition wall. From the other side, I have the electrical panel, and next to it, the cabinet with the miter saw, so you've already seen them, the electrical panel. We have conduits running above the ceiling, and it's the same in the other rooms of the house, to supply power to outlets, switches, lights, and radiators. Yesterday's task was to remove the radiator from the living room where it is. There's no point in keeping the conduit in the wall and patching the holes, so I recorded that for you. I also went outside to make a hole in the crawl space for new ventilation. I recorded that for you as well, and it's related to the radiator. If you figure out why it's related, you're really good. Either way, you'll get the answer soon in a video. So, the ventilation is done, and I took down the radiator. The duct is in the wall lining by the panel. I disconnected everything and rolled up the duct in the recesses. I removed the fiberglass and will label it radiator number 4 in case I need to reconnect it later. Everything is fine for now. I have a centered spotlight in the entryway and 2 more by the closet. Those ones don't bother me, but in the entryway, the one in the middle does, because every time I pull on a conduit, it gets caught in the spotlight. It's really right in the middle, so I'm thinking about this spotlight. I'm going to remove it because I still have quite a bit of work to do. With conduits to identify, pull or modify, it doesn't matter. I remove the spotlight, move the conduits aside, cover them, and once I'm done, I replace the spotlight. Soon, I need to open this partition and remove the closet to expand the house into the former garage workshop. So I'll definitely have more work to do with the spotlight, so we'll see the spotlight again. I remove it, I'm here, I have access, I take it out, I go up into the attic, I spot 2 or 3 conduits, I take the opportunity, I push the conduits. I didn't even have time to put the cover on to keep the fiberglass from falling. I had put a board on the trusses, but maybe I went too far, maybe I leaned too far forward on the board. I tipped over, and at that point, I had no choice but to put my hands out to catch myself, and I broke through the ceiling. The hole for the light fixture weakened the drywall. Without it, I might have just cracked the drywall, popped some screws, scraped and screwed it back in, opened the crack, patched it, and finished. I didn't hit the hole itself, but just beside it, which was enough to break through the drywall. So, the mistake is done. I have to fix it, and quickly. I don't have the whole day. I only have half a day before my wife comes home tonight. And if she sees fiberglass everywhere, cables running around, she's going to think there are mice and spiders in the house. It's going to be a nightmare. The paint doesn't matter, because I'm telling you, there will be renovations, so I'll definitely have to do some drywall, plaster, and painting work. The goal is to fix everything. Find the metal studs, cut new drywall, use quick setting plaster, then a thick finishing coat. I'll sand it so it looks white as if we painted the ceiling. The radiator's out, so we can fill all the holes, including the one I made outside. In the crawl space, for ventilation, I have 2, 4, 6 holes to fill. I'm sealing the fastenings permanently, since if we ever reinstall a radiator, it will likely be the same model with the same fastenings. I don't even know if this model still exists. I want to keep this hole. To access the conduit, run an electrical or RJ45 cable through it, or remove wiring. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So the easy solution would be to put a cable outlet or a white cover, but it looks really ugly. I could also put in an outlet, but what would an outlet be doing right in the middle of this panel? Especially since I already have 3 on this panel. I also need to modify everything into one block, but I can't film it since I showed it in a previous video. To learn how, see the link in the description. How do I fill this hole, plaster it, and know if one day I run my hand over the panel there? I think it's softer than plasterboard. I can dig easily, simply by using expanding foam. You inject the expanding foam, cut off the excess, and then apply plaster and paint. I'll handle that later since I still have a lot of work with the outlets, but at least let it be plastered, white, and look clean. The second coat of plaster has dried well, so we can apply the third coat of plaster. Once that's dry, we can sand it. And like I told you, I'll deal with the painting later. I wanted to show you the expansive energy foam piece I cut and covered with 2 coats of plaster. So for those who do modeling, you probably know this. You can use foam for scenery, but you can also, as I told you, coat it. So if you didn't know that and you've never tried it before, it coats well. At first I wondered if the plaster would dry since the surface isn't very porous. Well, it dries relatively quickly, just as fast as on a plasterboard, so it's great. It coats very well. And then you sand it, you paint it, and like I said, those who do model making or scenery, well, they know that foam paints very well. What I wanted to show you is that when you press on it, it already sounds more hollow than on the plasterboard. And if I press really hard, I can break through the coating. If I had to add furring behind the plasterboard, cut a 68mm hole, screw it to the furring, and finish with coating. Getting to it is harder than breaking through. Expanding foam. For those wondering if expanding foam could push the conduit and I won't have access anymore, well, no, don't worry. Expanding foam expands where there's space. If it hits the conduit and recognizes it, it can't continue. It will shift further right on the panel, move up and down, exit the hole and expand. But the conduit hasn't moved. The expanding foam will dry. That's why I cover the conduit with a plastic bag, pierce the foam, retrieve the conduit, and if needed, deal with any issues retrieving it. You know the coat hanger trick? Cut an old hanger, make a hook, and use it to grab the conduit through the hole. Now the goal is to tape and apply joint compound, but not just any kind since I'm in a hurry. So we're going to use the PR, one fast setting drywall joint compound, not just fast, but ultra fast. Usage time, they say 1 hour, but expect 45 minutes or even 30 if your room is very hot. Second coat after 5 hours, I'm in a big hurry as I told you. I wait 3 hours, apply the tapes, wait 3 hours, add a second coat, then wait 3 more hours for the final coat. A 25 kilogram bag covers up to 75 square meters. So the goal is not to mix the whole 25 kilogram bag because once it dries, it's done for. I'll use a clean bucket and water, fill a 50 centiliter bottle and mix my plaster with that amount. If I need more, I'll repeat so I don't waste any plaster. And for the finish, the Bagar Airless G. Why that one? Because it sands really well and it's ultra white. I'm not going to paint this ceiling since I'll have more plaster work to do later, so there's no point in painting. So the Bagar Airless Ultra White, I've already shown it to you in a video. It's a safe bet. The ceiling is repaired and looks clean and white. It could use a second coat of smoothing compound, but I'll take care of that when I redo the workshop ceiling and break down this partition. So when my wife came home, of course she noticed since it was still shiny, the compound wasn't dry yet. So did you get the idea about the smoothing compound? When I say I fixed the ceiling in half a day, I mean from when I applied the smoothing compound. Then you have to let it dry for 24 hours and sand it. I did that the next day, but for me, the job was finished once I applied it to the ceiling. My wife comes home, points out a missing shiny spotlight in the ceiling. Women notice everything. So I explained to her that I made a mistake, that I pressed on the spotlight. I didn't go into too much detail, I just pressed on the spotlight. It cracked, and since it was bothering me, I took it out. She trusts me with the work anyway, and I'll put it back like I told you. Since we must break the partition, more spotlights will come in. We'll see. So, about the drywall, for those wondering why I made it so big, well, I just took the width of a drywall sheet, 1.20 meters, and then I marked it on the ceiling, made a 55 CNF opening and screwed it in. That meant I only had to cut the drywall sheet on two sides, and I had the tapered edges, so I could have also made the tapered edges match the existing ceiling. A router lets you cut the entire length, but was it worth it? I don't think so. And as I told you, I'll definitely apply a second coat of plaster, so it'll be perfect in the end. This covers the legal ceiling requirements for a drywall partition. If the partition is damaged, you now know how to repair it. Metal studs or even scraps of wood can work, a leftover piece of drywall. You should always keep some at home. You can use quick setting compound or regular compound, then finishing compound, and of course paint. As you can see, it's simple. Also, avoid using screws that are too long. I used 25mm screws. 35mm would stick out from the furring. Using 55mm screws is riskier since you could hit electrical conduit. For ceilings, always use 25mm screws. Because if you use screws that are too long and you reach in to grab a conduit or remove the insulation, if you hit your hand on a screw, you'll feel pain. So 25 mm is plenty. Back to the story. I'm spending a lot of time up there pulling conduits in all directions and adding more. You'll see it all. I'm also installing RJ45 cables for outdoor cameras. We'll discuss that later. I'm building tunnels with polyvinyl chloride from end to end. You might think I'm crazy, but it's all in anticipation. If the floor is installed and I realize I needed a cable, at least it can go through the polyvinyl chloride. I could run a fish tape or a stiff cable and catch it on the other side. I need to make a T-shaped board with a reinforcement underneath and push it firmly into the trusses to keep it from tipping over. The best solution is still to screw the board in place, but having to move every 2 minutes makes taking out and placing the board each time annoying. So I need to find a solution, but I'll film it for you if I find the perfect solution. Thank you for watching. I hope you find this video helpful. If you have ceiling or partition wall damage, now you know how to fix it. See you soon for more videos. In the meantime, enjoy your do-it-yourself projects, take care of yourself, and see you very soon.